Good morning, everyone. Hello. Can you hear me okay? Thumbs up. All right, brilliant. So my name's Barak Arja. As you might have guessed, I work for CrowdStrike. The T-shirt's probably giving it away. Thank you very much for making the time to join me today. We're going to talk about Next-gen SIEM and stopping adversaries with our solution. A lot to talk about in the 20, 30 minutes that we've got together. So settle in, strap yourselves in, and let's go through some content. So as a sales engineer, I get to speak to literally hundreds of CrowdStrike customers. I'm an international sales engineer, so currently working in the Benelux for the last couple of quarters and having some great interactions with the company in the region. These statistics I'm pulling out based on CrowdStrike data, and they're pretty eye-watering. We're seeing nearly a 300% increase in adversaries focusing on cloud workloads today. So whereas we usually think about the workstations being the primary target, we're seeing adversaries move very much to the network periphery and also to your cloud environment. So critically important that from a workload perspective, from entitlement management, from security posture management, that we have a focus there. Additionally, we see with almost every attack, 3 in 5 of them have a compromised credential somewhere in the attack chain. So critically important, and something that I've noticed in the Benelux region is that identity protection is actually quite weak. Much of that coming from the fact that the region was focused on moving from other EDRs over to next-gen EDR, and identity didn't really make up a lot of those projects. But really what we're going to focus on today is that last statistic, because last year I was talking about adversaries breaking out within about 60 to 70 minutes. Breakout time at CrowdStrike is the time that our Overwatch threat hunters team assesses and tracks, which is the time it takes an adversary to take a foothold in one entity in your network and move laterally to another one. That time has usually been in hours. As you can see today, it's in the order of minutes. So think about your organization from a security perspective, your SIEM today, and its capability to detect, to be able to give you the information you need and remediate within that time. 2 minutes, 7 seconds is the challenge that you have today. And what we'll really discuss is how important it is for your back end to be able to deliver the data in a timely manner for you to be able to achieve this time. And we know, quite simply speaking, that today with the back-end solutions and the SIEM solutions that you have, it's virtually impossible to reach this time. So we're going to focus on that 2 minutes, 7 seconds. And then I kind of want to talk to you about what we hear from yourselves as a company. And the first thing is that cybersecurity isn't a nice to have. It's mission critical today and absolutely a focus for all of you as you try to stop the breach, right? We're here to protect our organizations against a modern threat actor who is ever more sophisticated, who is working faster and at a scale that you've not seen before. And we get to see these events and these incidents on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And too many point products is creating a fragmented ecosystem of security vendors. I see in some organizations 50 or 60 different point products addressing the need of trying to fight the adversary. And that's just not manageable, right? Think about the number of engagements, the number of people like me that you have to speak to, the number of POVs, the number of success criteria. This is a problematic issue. And so reducing your footprint in terms of the number of agents is also critical. And then finally, the cost. Quite simply, what we're going to discuss today is that by moving to CrowdStrike and using our next-gen SIEM, it's going to save you and us so much money that we can give you ingest for free. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. We at CrowdStrike have a data-centric platform. And what I'm going to do is tell you a little story as to what it takes to beat the adversary today. And it starts with CrowdStrike 13 years ago in 2011 as our founders build a platform in the cloud for the cloud. And we take a data-centric approach to how we meet the challenge of beating the adversary. And that is today, Falcon allows us to basically get access to authority threat intelligence information. CrowdStrike was born by discovering and continues to be at the forefront of the discovery of the biggest threats that we see out there today. That could be the fact that CrowdStrike was at the center of finding the biggest breach since the Cold War in the USDNC. And in that discovery, we then began to build TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures that the threat actors use in order to breach an environment. That continues to this day, where we are at the forefront of revealing the issues that we see with our nearest friends, 0558, Storm 0558, within the Microsoft environment. The reports for this are clear. If you haven't read this report, it is critically important that you do so and understand the threats that we see today. So important is our data that it's actually become a de facto standard. And our global threat report, which you can obviously get from our stand today if you come and see us, will give you an outline of the e-crime, the rogue microphones, the e-crime actors, and the nation-state threat actors that you face today. And these are detailed in here. Please come speak to us. It's free of charge, available to you, as well as on the internet. And what it shows and what we know is that since the creation of CrowdStrike, we have been at the forefront of discoveries in either supply chain attacks, out-and-out ransomware. It could be issues like exploitation of vulnerabilities in Log4j. But our incident response teams are at the forefront of these discoveries, and the TTPs that we get for that allow us to really understand that today you don't have a malware problem, you have an adversary problem. And dealing with that means understanding those indicators of attack rather than just finding a payload in your environment. Understand that means the information coming from a whole different bunch of security domains, and how do we ingest that in one place, make sense of that in a timely manner. Don't forget, 2 minutes, 7 seconds is what we're aiming for. But know that today, as far as IR and our threat information is concerned, it is considered de facto today. So if you haven't consumed it, please do so. Next, how do we beat the threat actor? We have a single sensor. The Falcon sensor is a piece of software that sits on any of the moving feast of technology that you have today. So be it workstations, be it server technology, be it identities, we have a single agent that goes on each one of these platforms, allowing you then to gather the data from not just your workstations, but as we know, the threat actor's looking at the network periphery, right? So all of the estate that you have, managed and unmanaged assets, and getting an idea of those assets and being able to provide preventative measures in order to protect your environment. Take with that then not just the CrowdStrike data, but then also the ability to ingest the threat intelligence from all the other investments that you might have made. And so it's really important that your choice includes a vendor that's open and extensible in terms of its ability to deliver that threat intel into the platform and make that correlative association between that data and create detections that are key for providing the protection. And then third-party data. So today, not just having signals from the workstation, but across the IT estate. So be that a firewall, be that an identity. We need to be able to understand that we're getting the signals from all of the investments that we make. And as you know, well, CrowdStrike, or you may not know, CrowdStrike has alliances, many tiers with all the vendors that you will have invested in today. So today we have adapters for over 150 different vendors. Through the CrowdStrike store, you're able to go very quickly deploy these integrations that allow you then to bring in that data into the CrowdStrike platform. With that then, and we shall click. Hopefully my clicker's working. What's going on? Oh, has it run out of battery? Where are we? Right, that's come up. Then what we see in order to beat the threat actor is lots of companies, full-time employees in cyber or SecOps getting wrapped around the axle trying to deliver functionality and capability in these different areas. So it could be vulnerability management, it could be behavioral analysis, it could be out-and-out malware detection. Many times I go into environments and there are individuals that are specifically focused on delivering more capability around one of these areas. But this stuff, with the amount of data that we have, it's not a human job anymore, right? This is the stuff that computers were built for. And so AI is part and parcel and core to the CrowdStrike platform. We've built AI into the platform at the start in order to deliver all of these capabilities out of the box for you so that you spend less time looking at the data and more time dealing with the issues in your environment. And then finally, and most importantly to this discussion, is the CrowdStrike Security Cloud. Our platform has been built on Splunk, and we are probably, up until a few months ago, one of the biggest spenders of Splunk in the world. Millions of dollars spent, and what we've done is we've built 3 graphs. The threat graph, which allows us to provide policies and protections for that moving feast of technology by way of having the sensor on that endpoint or looking at the identity or on our server. And effectively what that allows us to do is then marry that data together with our asset and also our intel data. So these 3 graphs are working together continuously to provide cross-correlation detections that allow us to understand better what the threat actor is doing. Our teams are also in place to help, and our vast number of partners can also help to provide a functionality and capability around this, but critically understand that those 3 clouds are effectively what gives us so much power and capability. And having built that on a platform that's very expensive, both the cloud models and the local models are really key. So if you're working with an endpoint and you lose a connection, you still need that capability in the sensor on the endpoint. When the connection's back again, you get the best of the crowd and the detections that we get from our customer base employing our technology. So either way, you're protected, whether you're online or offline, and that's really critical too. Put all of that together, and you begin to understand what it takes to stop the modern threat actor. And CrowdStrike's been very focused on this, but the key differential that we find, and be that either employing ourselves or our partner network, is people. And this is really where we go ahead of every other vendor you're going to speak to today and come speak to us, both in our partner network, our data scientists, the threat hunters that we have, the ability for our incident responders to actually make a key difference and stop companies having to report the breaches that they have, are experiences that I have had. So I know that our agent, our capability can deploy within 48 hours to estates of 10,000 or more and provide real information that stops the breach, stops the threat actor, and that's critical. And it's because of the people that we have, the data scientists constantly enriching our information through the threat graph, making sure that we're delivering real detections and protections based on the threats that we see. So as you can see, threat intel, third-party data, generative cloud, and security and IT automation are all part and parcel of a modern-day environment. So I've talked to you about how the back end was on Splunk. We very recently moved that. I think this thing's going. We very recently moved. A few years ago, we acquired a company called Humio. Hands up who knows Humio, LogScale. Okay, so we've got lots of educating to do. Basically, Humio is very different to your normal logging or SIEM platforms. It's indexless. It allows for petabyte scale of data ingestion. And it's given us the ability to really change and meet with the threat actors 2 minutes, 7 seconds, because Splunk wasn't allowing us to do that. Accessing data at scale and at speed is not an easy task. And Humio allows us to do that. So effectively, dashboards, queries, monitoring, alerts, and the remediation, Humio as a platform is now called LogScale at CrowdStrike, and it's allowed us, there you go, in comes the bird. It's allowed us to effectively be very quick and fast in providing the detections, the correlations, and ultimately being able to apply those policies necessary. And if this is our platform, what we've effectively done is we've taken the engine and we've essentially separated the bit that really counts, the grunt. And we've taken that Splunk back end at the cost that it was, with the speed that it was providing and the scale that it allowed, it had to go. And in doing so, we've replaced that. We've raptorized, as we've called our code name, raptorized, all of our customers' back end now, including our own. So everything today is on LogScale, and the change is epic. And you know, in terms of Splunk, it's cheap. So as far as a certain Cisco is concerned, I'm sure they'll enjoy that. But as far as we're concerned, you know, this back end is really going to make a difference. And what we know today is that CrowdStrike, for our customers, has been used to ingest all of this data, and then what we do is we spit that out to another source, to a Splunk, an ArcSight, to Elastic. But why? Why are we doing that? It doesn't make sense if you've today now got a platform that allows you to ingest all of the data that you have in your environment and bring it into one place. And our next-gen SIEM allows you to do that. So you no longer need to get the detection capability from us and then spit it out to another log management platform. Bring it all into our next-gen SIEM platform, and that is going to do a couple of things. First, it's going to give you guys 10 gig of ingest free. So we've saved so much money moving from Splunk that we can afford to give you all 10 gig free before we start charging you. So it gives you an idea of how much money is being saved here. Sorry? 10 gigs in terms of ingest complete, yeah. Per day, I'll get shot. But yeah, you can certainly buy 10 gig a day. I'll be very interested to speak with you. All right. So with the change of the back end, with the story that you guys have understood of what it takes, let's then take a look at what next-gen SIEM should be delivering as you walk around today and have a look at the vendors that are out there and a chat. And first, you're looking to hunt down adversaries, right? We're looking to find the adversary, not a payload, not a behavioral activity. We're looking to find a threat actor. And today we have the TTPs for 237 threat actors worldwide, as I said, from all parts of the world. So the way I see it is when I speak with my customers, as you implement CrowdStrike fully, 70% of the work is done. And I see many customers still trying to hunt adversaries down on a piecemeal basis. Why would you do that? Right? You have a company that's already done the hard work, recognized for the IR around finding these adversaries. Why are you spending time trying to find the data that we already have? So 70% of that work's already done. Then what about the 30%? And that's where our partners, where our own services come into play in order to keep eyes on your network 24/7. And that service then allows us to keep ahead of the adversary. Our SIEM complexity and costs are reduced. So the pain that you felt today goes away. And there is no doubt that we've had minimal issues with raptorizing all of our customers, and they're now benefiting from the scale and the speed of the platform. What are those benefits? Well, first is getting data in. The ingestion of data has never been an easy thing. First, making sure that it is actually coming in and having traffic lights to tell you that certain data is or isn't coming in. The health of that data. Is it being ingested? Is it being parsed? Is it being enriched correctly? These have all been real challenges for customers with traditional logging and SIEM tools. And then what's the cost of that? The parsing and the processing of that is highly expensive if we start to bring in all of the logging from our security domains. So it's really key that we have a dashboard for that, an easy way to integrate, and the ability to bring in anything. So we have a HTTP connector today that basically means so long as your data has a date and timestamp, CrowdStrike can ingest that data. With that, what we then want to do is bring those detections into one place. One of the biggest challenges we see as you go into an incident is having to traverse 3, 4, maybe a dozen different screens before you get an understanding of the problem. With CrowdStrike, we've introduced unified detections. So if you're looking closely enough here, whether it's an endpoint, a network, an identity, it really doesn't matter. We're bringing everything into a single location so that you have one source of truth for all of the issues that are arising in the instance that you see across the network. And again, that's a huge difference. I'm not going in to say an Intune, or I'm not going into a Splunk. I'm not going to another environment in order to solve these issues. And don't forget, CrowdStrike remediates. The agent is on the endpoint. So we have remediative capability through real-time response and our unique capability to be able to get to a single device. Isolating a single iPhone, for instance, is something that we can do, and quite a unique thing in terms of security. So having everything in one place, the prioritization of those detections, the correlation is all done for you out of the box. We saw the AI power capabilities as part of the story. Remember, those are all working together in order to provide these detections and correlations for you. And then the filtering, being able to get to the most important issues we make sure that we make that easy, and half the work's done for you already in the way that we enrich and produce this data for you. Then what we want to do is deal with the incident. And I'd like to know how many people's teams are using Google Sheets as we go into IR. Hands up if you use Google Sheets in your incidents. There you go, there's one over there. Thank you, Wolfie. Yeah, that's the biggest issue we see, is as we go into these issues, then a team is going to be spawned either through the SecOps or the SOC team, and then immediately we'll begin swarming on this incident. And the problem is that you're dealing with a Google Sheet, which is out of date the day that it's produced, and also gets lost. What happens if that guy goes and loses his job the next day or decides to go off sick? So we see these issues, and what we've done is we've brought everything into something called the incident workbench. So it's a working environment where everybody who has the roles and responsibilities and rights to this console can swarm in on a single incident and begin working on it. And we've adopted a Google Sheets type philosophy where as you come in, multiple people can be editing and working on a single incident, updating the records with the ability to roll back, to roll forward. All of that good stuff is built in here as you would expect. And some of the statuses very clearly for you shown there in the workbench. As we hover over these items, you're going to get a status. And of course, if you've got identity protection, if you've got cloud workload protection, any of the other modules that we have, like vulnerability management with Spotlight, that data is all part and parcel in the records that you see there. So again, having this central location to understand what happened in an incident, critically important for rapidly dealing with that issue. And again, meeting with that 2 minutes, 7 seconds, always coming back to how fast that adversary is able to operate today, and how do we go about meeting that challenge. This is one of the ways in which we can very quickly get a team of people operational and working together to stop the breach. What else did I miss there? Collaborative command center, enrichment and remediation. I think I've said all of these things a few times, so you guys can understand the importance of having this workplace. And then the AI investigator, for me, was the bit that really opened my brain up. This is the bit where Charlotte, our AI, comes into play. Everyone's talking AI. I feel like a bit of a pimp talking about Charlotte as an AI, but certainly we're selling it and the LLM is working really well. And what you're seeing here is the automatic creation of the report post-incident. So think about that threat hunter. Think about a threat actor in your environment. What we see is an average of 162 hours for the full remediation of an incident end to end. That time is just ridiculously long today. And I'd challenge all of you in your organizations to be deriving that time and comparing it to the challenge that you have with the threat actor today. But critically, at the end of this process, Charlotte is automatically writing this report on behalf of that threat analyst. How cool is that? I get to the end of my work, and rather than have to sit on a Friday and write this report, I've got AI doing the work for me, with all the benefits that it brings in speeding it up, in making sure my grammar's correct, in making sure the incident is outlined correctly, in making sure that all of the details are part and parcel of this record and of this incident. And so with that, we find that AI is going to reduce the investigation times that you have. It's going to automate the threat context that we're seeing, and the remediation recommendations are one of the most powerful things of CrowdStrike, is that rather than just giving you a problem and throwing it over the fence, in each and every case with CrowdStrike, we provide remediation, be that from behavioral analysis, be it from an endpoint detection. Wherever you look in the console, you will find that we're providing information that helps IT operations, SecOps and SOC teams to really remediate the problems that they see today. And then finally, we have a proven maturity model. Starting with EDR, which is where we've come from, we've been taking our customers on a sure but steady road to full protection and an active state. Too many companies today focused on what I call proactive exposure management, running around the estate in the various security domains, in attempting to plug the gaps in all of the solutions that you have. That in itself is a full-time job, but it's not what we were hired for. We were hired to stop the threat actor, and our job is to understand and get ahead of that next-gen threat actor out there. And we do that by ensuring that our point products are in place, taking a look at our services and people, and our partner network, and then building to a point where we have active protection across the estate, be it an endpoint, workload, and identity, regardless, third-party data, we're going to be helping you to stop the breach and understand that threat actor. Our stand is right over the other side of this wall. We've got a whole army of red shirt and black shirt CrowdStrikers. More than happy to take you through a demo today. Lots of us ready and willing to help you. Please come and speak to us. We got sales, support, marketing. Thank you, Ralph, for getting this set up. And I thank all of you for the time that you've given me today. Thank you. Enjoy your lunch.